What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Chiefin With Daily Dale. I'm your host, Dale Fowler, along with my partner, Lonnie. How you doing today, bro?
Good, good.
Man, just how you been feeling? Anything big in the sports week you want to say before we start?
Y'all see the Nuggets is back up on top. Well, not up on top. Well, yeah, up on top. I'm sorry. You see the Nuggets is back on top. Y'all see what ended. You see how things shook up when we got off of here. I told y'all I was a long lost Denver fan. Found my second love for the Denver Nuggets about a year ago. So
Long
Dale
lost
knows about
Denver.
that, but um,
Long lost
I'm
Denver.
not a Denver Broncos fan by any means, and we'll talk about that later. But definitely a different Nuggets fan. Kansas City doesn't have a basketball team. Everybody in Kansas City knows that. But yeah, I see that even up the series. But that's it. That's what I want to lead off with. How you been? How you been? What you been on?
I mean, I've been chilling, bro. A lot of things been going on this week.
Hmm.
A lot of things happen as well too. Very frustrated. You know what I'm gonna talk about later on in the show. Y'all know what happened. Y'all know what happened today. So we're gonna touch on that. But yeah, the Chiefs visit the White House this past Monday. Travis Kelce having a blast. Frank Clark had a blast. Chris Jones had a blast. McCole Hartman even showed up as well too. So we saw all the Chiefs players out there. It just looked like they were enjoying themselves and it was a good time. So it's always feel good after coming off of a Super Bowl, right? So yeah.
Yeah.
but but we're gonna be discussing that. We're gonna be talking about how long we feel Travis Kelce can last in the league. Then also you had the Vikings shake up the market as well too. They did release Dalvin Cook and also said that they are willing to have trade talks about defensive end Danielle Hunter. So that'd be fun to talk about as well too. And then also we got some other things that we're gonna be diving into as well. So first off, let's start it off with the visit to the White House. So the Kansas City Chiefs visited the White House on Monday. Like we said, we saw Frank Clark in the building and new just wide receiver McCole Hartman. Uh, Frank looks excited to be a part of the team, but it looks like he's going to a division foe in the Denver Broncos. He signed a 1 year deal that's worth 7.5 million, 5.5 million guaranteed, I believe, or 5 million guaranteed, and then 2 million. Well, 1.5 is a bonus, incentive bonus that he can earn. So he can make up to 7.5 this season. And being a deal like that, you would think the Kansas City Chiefs had that type of money to offer that. But Lonnie, what's your thoughts about that?
I think Frank was a snake in the grass. Shall I say? Another Orlando Brown. Um,
Snake in the
But
grass.
a snake in the
Oh,
grass. We're not going. So I really want to say we had a segment to talk about Frank Clark here, y'all, but we couldn't because this
we
ended
got
up
shook
coming
up.
through. This ended up coming through, and it was like, man, like it was crushing because y'all know we were rooting for Frank Clark to be brought back to the Chiefs, to help us in that defensive room and be that vet in the room like we was talking about
Mm,
like Dunlap and the rest and the others. But I mean, I think it's good for Frank. I mean, I think he got what he wanted. I think Chiefs weren't going to give him as much as that was what he got from Denver.
mhm.
The deal was pretty lucrative. I mean, he lost about what like 19 here, when we cut him. So
Yep.
he wasn't going to get anything really close to that or like half of that. So he took what he could. But I just these moves, man. The we're going to see him this year. So we got to see him twice
Twice.
a year, so he's gonna give us his best shot. But I'm expecting the Chiefs to step up, and like I said, I feel like this move shows that we trust internally what we have, right? And that's what I was
Mhm.
telling you, kind of earlier when we spoke about this, is that we Beach is trusting that defensive line and what he's picked up so far, right? So Felix, you talk about Charles O'Menihue, you talk about Mike Dana, you talk about George Karlaftis, you talk about Derek Nottie even coming back again. So and Chris Jones getting extended. So you talk about all of those key pieces that he has in that locker room. He's really, I think, showing that he's trusting that and what he's gathered, all of those tools in his toolbox and all of those defensive linemen, and different skill sets, and he's going to move forward with that. So with that being said, we have to see. We'll have to see going forward. Like I said, we talked about that before. It's going to be in those high stakes games when everything means the most. So when in those division games, when Frank lines up on third down, we're going to see if we pay for the right the best right tackle or left tackle in the league with Donovan Smith or Jawan Taylor. So we're gonna get to see and we're gonna find out real quick, right? And like I said, it's gonna be a revenge tour for Mahomes, right? We play these teams all year. We play the Cincinnati Bengals, which got one of the snakes out our yard, Orlando Brown. And then we played the Denver Broncos twice, which got another snake out of yard, Frank Clark. And that's no plunder for no shade to Frank Clark, but when you make a move like that, it's just like you. I understand it's a business is a business, but I
Hmm.
need the Chiefs to have bullets and more material. So I'm gonna sum it up like I'm a Chief. So um, that's what I would say. Is you got the snake out the grass. Thank you.
At first, I was very upset with him signing with the Denver Broncos just because that was a division foe, and we dominated them over the past seasons as well too. They haven't won all the way back almost until like 2015, I believe. So we have been dominating ever since. And when he came over, he was a part of that success as well too, and we won two Super Bowls with him. So for him to do that at first, it was like, man, why would you do that? But at the same time, I get it to a sense because you want to go to the team that's willing to still let you play what you play, right?
Mhm.
He still feel like he's effective in the league. He still feel like he can bring that fire on the defensive side. He feel like he's still one of the best pass rushers in the league. So, I mean, I don't know how to feel about him breaking the postseason record if they're not going to make it to the postseason. Keep in mind they do have Sean Payton as well, a defensive minded coach, someone who had a great defense over in New Orleans as well too, and he's bringing that over to the Denver Broncos, and he's trying to change the culture. So getting a guy like Frank Clark, who's going to have that swagger and who's going to have that enthusiasm to come out there each and every day, and he feels like he's going to have something to prove to the Kansas City Chiefs, that might be something that Sean Payton looked into and was like, I think we can bring that over and we can make something happen. We got to keep in mind that the Broncos defense were already good before he even came. You got guys like Patrick Surtain over there, and you got other young guys as well too, who's pretty solid as well. So one of the best safeties in the league as well too, Simmons. So it's just a lot of things that I think calculated to why Frank Clark wanted to go over there. He was going to go to another defense. Nothing against him, but I feel like it's going to hide some of his non best qualities he has as a pass rusher. Sometimes he can be lackadaisical, uh, not as reliant in the regular season, but he was phenomenal in the postseason, right? And that's no shade at all. But at the same time, when the Chiefs paid him, they paid him to be an all around guy who's going to be there for 17, 16 games a season,
And,
and then also the postseason as well too.
and,
So
and he wasn't that guy, right? And it's no,
yeah.
like you said, no shade to Frank Clark, but when we paid you to come here, Frank, we didn't pay you to come play 30% of the games, right?
Hmm.
We paid you to come be that same player that you were in Seattle that earned you that contract. They got you into that contract year. Now you showed that glimpses of that, but you didn't really flash and show that until the postseason. And I understand kind of where this comes from, being that there's so much postseason success there, but the regular season success for a sustained long period of time is not there. You don't see that, but
Yeah.
you do see it in the postseason. However, and it's just kind of one of those things is that you people think that you can get paid off of postseason success. You can get paid off of postseason success, but they still want to see that you sustain some type of success through the regular season and not just been hurt
That's
all
what gets
the
you
time.
paid. That's what
Yeah,
gets you
that's what gets
paid.
you paid. Yep.
Because at the end of the day, Chris Jones, all the way up until that point, he didn't have a postseason sack until last year in our Super Bowl run. So what he did throughout the seasons, though, he had two 15.5 plus sack seasons. He had multiple seasons that he had over 10 as well too. And then he was someone who was able to get those loss for gains and some forced fumbles as well. But he contributed all around on the defensive line because he we needed that support as well. So I mean, I love Frank when he first came over here. I just like the swagger that he brought, especially in that first Super Bowl victory. You can hear blood in the water. You got that saying going around the city, and it's
Yeah.
going crazy. So I mean, it's very upsetting, but at the same time, I'm not mad because even though I wanted Frank back as well too, I was also someone who said like, we'll be fine without him. And I saw the Chiefs actually releasing him this season anyway, just because he was coming up to that last year. You remember they restructured it already anyway, last season where they were able to bring down the cap hit a little bit more, but he was still around the 2 year, 20 million type of deal. So at the same time, I felt like they were comfortable with going ahead and taking that dead cap hit as well too, and just go ahead and get younger. But they did it to a point to where when they did do it, it wasn't going to be as much daily as it would have been if we kept him on that same contract, because he was a 5 year, 105 million type. He had a 5 year, $500 million deal, so he was making almost like 25 a year. So they needed to restructure that to be able to get in the position they were now. Now I think usually when you release a guy, right? uh More than likely they're going somewhere else. But it has been times where they just did that to really create some space and be able to pick up the guys that they need to manipulate the cap and then bring back that guy as well too, just because he was important to that success. So I see why, as fans and as the media, were thinking as the off season was going longer as well too. It's like it's a possibility he can come back, but at the same time, we saw it with Bobby Wagner. He went over to the Rams and then came back to the Seattle Seahawks after a year. Who's to say that might not happen with the Chiefs? Just he was just finding a home for right now to keep himself going. Who knows? But why would you go to the ops? I don't know. It doesn't make sense, right?
Yeah,
But
so we have to because we have to hate you for now. So
yeah,
I love that you say that, but I hate when you say that because I get what you're saying in the football sense. Yes, that's what they do, but like you gotta hate them. I gotta hate you now.
yeah,
I gotta hate
yeah.
you
I
because
mean,
this we
yeah,
these are the people that stand in our way to get to where we need to go.
we
So
got to beat them twice a year.
when you join that other side, it's like you just spit in my face. I'm sorry.
Yeah, as a fan base, and we love everything you did. See, I honestly expected him to go over to the NFC or something like that, just because with the how a team could eventually like spark that season, and with them not having like elite quarterbacks over there as the AFC, it just seems like if you get on the right team, say like a 49ers or whatever like that, right, they're going to be competing in that division anyway, going to the playoffs. So you put yourself in a position to be able to contribute to that, because at the same times you have accolades that you're trying to meet as well. You're a two-time Super Bowl champion, and you was effective in both of those runs. So I would figure that he would probably go somewhere that was trending upwards,
Mhm.
where it wasn't still in the conference, because you know what organization that you came from, you know what quarterback that they have, and that you're there. They're always going to be the hurdle that you got to get over to get to that, right? So let me go away from that, because you see what Charvarius Ward did. He went ahead and went over to the 49ers as well too, and he ended up playing in the championship game over there. So it's just making those lateral moves that is good for your career. But I feel like he felt the the Broncos was that move to go to, just because having a defensive minded coach like Sean Payton and having an elite defense over there as well too, and then also with him being someone who was uh important in the Chiefs defense throughout their runs and their reign throughout the AFC during his tenure in Kansas City. And then they're expecting to bring over that championship type of, mindset to that defense and to that whole team. And he can bring that leadership. So we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. I mean, am I mad? No. Do I like
Yeah, you
it?
can't be. It's
No.
football. Football is football. It's a
But
business at the end of the
yeah,
day, too, right? Frank, get your money, man. At the end
gotta
of
do
the day,
what's
go get your bread. If the right deal wasn't right here in Kansas City, if it was right in LA, Timbuktu, I don't care where it is, go get your bread. You still got a family to feed and family to take care of. But as far as a fan and a football player, that's a spit in the face, a slap in the face from Orlando Brown and him. And we preparing. We got our game circled on the calendar this year, and we're going to be looking at that matchup. Jawan Taylor, Frank Clark, Charles O'Menahue, Orlando Brown, or Corlatis, Orlando Brown, or Frank Clark and Niang, or Frank Clark and who is the
Taylor.
other? Not Taylor. I already said Taylor.
Hmm.
Um,
No,
the,
no. We just picked him up.
we did just pick him up. Donovan Smith. Donovan
Yeah,
Smith. I'm
Donovan
sorry.
Smith. Yeah.
I'm sorry. We drew a blank, y'all. But yeah, Donovan Smith. So
So,
we're that's the matchups we watching, y'all. Circle them and pinpoint them, and look, those is gonna be the matchups this year. We looking to see who wins.
It's gonna be fun. We know the relationship he has with Andy Reid. I don't think there's any hard feelings there. He knows he's gonna
Yeah,
do
no.
best for his career regardless. So they're not gonna be mad about that. It's a business at the end of the day. We made a business move by releasing him. He made a business move by going to a rival. So it is what it is, and we'll live with it. Live with it. But we'll talk about that more throughout the off season as well too, coming up into the preseason and going into the games that we have with them in the regular season. We're gonna definitely break that down and still be talking about him all year anyway. But moving on to our next topic, um, Travis Kelce, man. I think I said it in the last episode as well too. I mean, we've been seeing him kind of become this movie star, have doing great on the NBC Saturday Night Live, and he went out and got an agent as well too. So it just came to my mind like, why not discuss how long we feel Travis Kelce will be a tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs and how long he has in this league, and also how elite can he stay while he's playing with the Chiefs at the moment. So, Lonnie, what's your thoughts? I just want to see how you feel about it because I got a lot to say. I got a lot to say.
So I really couldn't put a number on it for Travis Wright, but I think he can do it for several years. And look, this is why I think they're gonna him and Mahomes will do it for several years. And I don't want to put a number. I'm just putting several in there, y'all. I'm sorry,
I got a
just
number.
throwing a word out there. But seeing that being that they lost to Brady and Gronk in a lot of those high leverage, high stake games, right? Those AFC Championship games early on, those Patriots games, being that Mahomes was around to see those losses and see that chemistry and how far it can get you and how many championships it can win you. I feel like that alone inspires him and Travis to play for several years together. Now, however, um, Travis is like your new generation tight end. He doesn't get hit as much as Gronk, so I think that's going to add a couple of years on to his career. And Mahomes is on the move too, so he's different as well. So like he's a kind of player that kind of complements his game. I seen him, Travis, Justin. I mean, Jason and Travis were talking on the show earlier today. I was watching the Kelce's brother show, New Heights, and he was saying Travis is more like an artist, right? Travis is an artist, so and he's good at improvisation. So improvisation, I'm sorry. So improvising, so move on the move, making stuff up on the fly. So like he's kind of like an artist, and I feel like him and Mahomes are kind of like the perfect marriage, right? Because Mahomes is the same
Hmm.
thing. He's kind of like Mozart. He's an artist too. So he's ebbing and flowing with the defense, moving around, getting people's feet, getting you off your spot, and getting the ball where he wants to. So I feel like it's the perfect marriage. It's a match made in heaven, and I would at least give him several more years. Just especially being he doesn't take as many hits as Gronk took. Gronk took a lot of those big over the middle hits, getting tore up, and it was kind of like a brutal time. But that was just kind of how he played, like feed Gronk. Gronk run his face through brick wall. So like that's just real meathead Gronk. So Travis is more like a finesse type guy. Kind of I'm gonna get out of bounds, catch on the sideline. He doesn't get hit as much. So I'll just give him several years. I didn't put a number on it, but what's your take on it?
I honestly give him about like 4 to 5 years, just because he's already 33 years old. He'll be 34 soon as well. So if you give him 4 to 5 years, he'll be 38, 39. We know we have some guys who play at almost to that age as well too. So I mean, at the same time, we know that he can play throughout that time and probably still be effective. But I think that's also the time limit I have of him being elite, and that's enough time for him to tie Gronk as well in Super Bowl wins. And that way, the debate for him, and I said that before in the last show, is it will help him in his debate of saying that he's the best tight end that ever played the game, because Shannon Sharp already gave him that title, just because he felt like at two he already exceeded the expectations that he needed to do. He won one in 2019 and then he won one last year in 2022. So at the same time, it's just like, okay, he has the championships to back it up, but he also has the stats as well too, because in his entire career he has 10,344 yards. He has a total of 69 touchdowns as well too, and he's the only tight end to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 plus seasons over 1,000 yards. And it wasn't just he had one season that was 1,038, but everything else was 1,100 and more. So that means he's a legit target on that offensive side for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was doing it before Patrick Mahomes, and he's doing it with Patrick Mahomes. But Patrick Mahomes is going to be the one that puts him over and puts him as the best in his position due to him winning championships with him. So I think 4 to 5 years is solid just because you can still get that elite level of play out of him. He's also can mold up those other guys that you bringing in as well too. You have guys like Noah Gray, you have Jody Fortson, so that will be young guys that you can build into that two tight end combo that we need or we're looking for. And after that, he can go ahead and continue the rest of his career in Hollywood. And I think he already made his way. No, and I'm not even being funny. I
You
think
know,
he
you for
made.
real.
I
Yeah,
think
for
he.
real.
I think he made a impression on a lot of people in that Saturday Night Live, and I feel with him going after acting agent as well too. I think he sees something more for him. He has a podcast show that's #1 in the world. He's doing a lot of things in the community as well too. Outside of that, we saw him before he got even big. He had a show called Catching Kelce, so he had it all in him already before. He knows what he want to do post career, and that's what a lot of guys like to do when they get in their 30s as well. Okay, what am I going to do after I play football? He want to be able to be set up for life and set up generational wealth beyond just that as well. Because we've seen guys in the league get broke and it wasn't spending their money well, and being someone who's not Patrick Mahomes, where you have a half a $1 billion deal, you gotta be able to have the right financial advisors, put your money in the right spots, invest it correctly. That way, you can build that going forward. And I think that's something he want to do outside of football once he leaves. That way, he can still be a face of something. And he's still active and he's out and about. I don't think he want to lose that touch because he has a vibrant personality. He's very much out there and he likes being around people. He's one of the coolest dudes you could ever be around. So I think, and also he will still contribute to the game of football as well too because they have tight end university every year and bring those guys out. So he's always gonna be in the spotlight when it comes to that, and he's a future Hall of Famer as well too. So I'm putting 4 to 5 years. Only reason why I say 4 to 5 is because I think they win two more Super Bowls out of those years, and then after that, he'll probably just play another 2 years to really build up those stats. Still be competing as well too. Who knows? You might pass Gronk and get 5. So we'll see. It'll be fun. It will be fun. But well, that's what we have for this half of the episode. We'll be coming back with some more sports talk and talking about a possibility of getting either Chase Young or Danielle Hunter right here on Chiefin with Daily Dale.
What up, KC? On the heels of yet another Kansas City Super Bowl victory, we have an awesome opportunity for you to broadcast your business to the local Kansas City market. We've created something called Kansas City Sports Company, which is a sports media hub for multiple live shows, all of which cover all the local Kansas City teams. Now, we have 30-second ad spots, 60-second ad spots, we have event sponsorships, studio sponsorships, show sponsorships, and much, much more. This is a great opportunity for you to start early with us and broadcast your business to a very dedicated, very enthusiastic Kansas City audience. Contact me or hit the Contact Us link on our website to learn more about this opportunity.
Welcome back to the episode, everybody. Now diving into our last topic of the evening, we're going to discuss Danielle Hunter and Chase Young. So, like I said at the beginning of the show, the Vikings has reported that they are willing to go into trade talks about defensive end Danielle Hunter. We know he had disputes with contract negotiations with them before after his rookie contract, and then trying to figure out a nice deal for him as well too. With them also. Kind of trying to clear up some cap space and kind of part ways with some loose ends that they have. We saw that they already released Dalvin Cook earlier today, and then also now they would like to trade him. Now, Lonnie, who would you rather go after? Would you rather go after Commanders defensive end Chase Young, or would you like to go after Vikings defensive end Danielle Hunter?
Yeah, so either one of those guys I think would be great, right? But I think Chase Young, I think we have to say you have to say Chase Young. I think Chase Young is that once in a generation type talent. Chase Young is that type is that number one pick type talent. He's the same type of talent as Chris Jones. I think that Chase Young moves gives the opposing defense nightmares. You got him waking up in cold sweats, the offensive line, thinking about dealing with that monster Chris Jones, Karlathis, Frank. I mean, I'm sorry, Chris Jones, Karlathis, Chase Young, Felix. So just a lot of young people there, Dana. So you would have a lot of good pass rushers. I feel like that's the Ferrari sexy move there, right? That's the look good move. That's the one that kind of makes your defensive line room one of the strongest rooms on the team. If you move and get Chase Young, but I think the Danielle Hunter move makes more sense, and I think it's more of the asking price of Brett Veach and the Chiefs, as far as like what they're going to want in compensation for Danielle Hunter. Um, so I think that one makes the most sense. But I feel like the Chase Young move is definitely the most sexiest move. It's the one that makes the most sense. I feel like that's the one that separates us and sets us apart as far as like our defensive line in the AFC. And
Hmm.
just really letting people know, like, yeah, we're coming to get you this year. We shutting those games down in the third quarter, third and fourth quarter on third down. We're head hunting. So I think that the Neil Hunter makes the most sense, but the Chase Young is the most sexiest move. And I think like if anything happens, it'll probably be the Danielle Hunter move.
Yeah, I mean Danielle Hunter, he's only 28 as well too. I understand Chase Young is young, but at the same time you get the experience with Danielle Hunter, and I think I like that a little bit more. Chase Young with his youth, I think we can help him accede to the where he could be. We know he was dominant in college, and we know he had a decent rookie year as well too. Didn't put up as many sacks, and then the next year after that he was dealing with an injury, so he wasn't able to be effective on that side anyway. But at the same time, I can understand people wanting to do that. Now, with knowing Danielle Hunter is being available, it puts more on the market to where, like, okay, we might not have to give up as much for him opposed to what you have to do with Chase Young because they're still, although he is a first round pick, they're looking. It's something that's worth it giving up a second round pick, but we know that Beach likes his pretty much 1 through 4 for sure. That those guys could potentially be starters on the roster, right?
Absolutely.
So if you can give up probably like a later pick for a guy like Daniel Hunter and get that 10.5 and above sack type of guy, because he had his best season with the Vikings. He had 14.5 sacks in 2018, and then the year after that, he followed up with the same amount of sacks, and then in 2022, he had 10.5, so he had what almost three less more. But but that's what we were looking for in Frank Clark, right? You will get
Yeah.
that with him, and he's a little bit older than what we got with when we had Frank Clark. But at the same time, we're going to get a guy who's already polished and who's already playing at the level that we want at defensive end. And not only will it be effective for us on the defensive side, it's something that Spags like because he is a longer body guy. He's 6'5" and has arm reach of 34 inches, so he fits the build that Spagnola likes. But at the same time, he'll be able to help guys like George Karlaftis and Felix become better defensive ends as well too, along with BJ Thompson and Mike Dana. Because when you have that type of experience on that defensive line to match it with Chris Jones and guys like Nadi who've been there for a while as well. You find that veteran presence that is younger than Frank Clark, that's younger than the Carlos Dunlap, and that's going to give you the same. What that's going to give you more on
Yeah.
that side as well
That
too.
same type
You're
of
gonna
juice.
you're gonna get and actually more. You're gonna have
Yeah.
more juice because you're gonna have him in the regular season and you're gonna have him in the postseason. He's pretty durable, and we've seen that from the amount of games he has played. Only in 2021, he only played 7 games. Every season after that, he played the full season. In his rookie year, he played 14 games. That's what we need. We need availability. Availability is the best ability. And then on top of that, someone who's skillful as well too. I like that. Now, don't keep me wrong. If the Chiefs were to say they have traded for Chase Young, I would be on the bandwagon and I would talk about how that's a good pickup. But personally, I would want someone like Danielle Hunter because we're going to get that experience, the years in the league that he has been in there, and he still has enough time as well to where he can be effective for another 5 plus because he's only 28 years old. So if we can get him to 33, 34, where he's still playing at that same level of play as well too, and bringing that aggression and that fire on the defensive end as a defensive end, I'm all for it. So we'll see how it goes. I think that's something that the Chiefs might like a little more. They might be like, okay, let's see what they're talking about with Chase Young because we like the age and we know that he can be a elite edge rusher, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, if we get this guy who's probably 3 years older, who's 28 years old, and he had in last season he had 10.5 plus sacks, like we wanted, what we expected from the guy that we signed a 5 year deal for over $100 million, then I think I'm gonna want to go with that because if we can match those sack totals with Chris Jones and then match it with guys like Carl Aptis who has 7, match it with Mike Daniel who had 5.5, 6.5 what within that range, and then you bring in a Charles Amini who's flexible on the defensive line as well too, who has shown flashes with the 49ers. You're talking about an elite D line, and people be like, "Oh, you're just hyping it too much." That's the type of line that's silent. That's going to be probably top 5 in the league, just off of stats. Chris Jones, who's already going, if he can get you another 15 plus, then you match it with 10 plus. Then you match it with 7 plus from like the third or fourth option. Young guy who's in the first round who's gonna be hungry as well too, who could probably get in there get 6 himself. Like it's a lot that's ferocious. And then you have a great back end. Then you got a great linebacking core. They could be one of the best in the league if you do that. I feel like that's why they're worried about adding something on the defense opposed to adding to that offense. D Hop would be a great addition, right? That'd be fine. Get another wide receiver. That'd be okay. That would be good. That's going to help Mahomes out on the long run. But if we can get Mahomes a top 10, a top 5 defense, he's going to be all right because I think he can put up 20 plus with the guys he have already. You
And,
bring back Jerick McKinnon. You got Travis Kelce still. You got Kadarius Tony. You just brought in Rasheed Rice. You got Scott Moore who's looking for a leap this year. You got MVS as well too. You got a lot. So what would you about to say?
and you add on years to his career when you get at that elite defensive end, right? Once you turn that defense into a bookend defense, all you do is at least add 2-3 years on his career because he doesn't have to exhaust as much energy on that offensive end, knowing that he has a great defense on that other side of the ball. So
Yeah.
you add years onto his career by having that top 5 defense or having that top 3 defense because he knows, okay, we may get a turnover here. I might not even have to really do anything in this game. This defense might handle this team. We might need to win it 17-24. I mean, not, I'm sorry, not 17, 17-7 or 17. So you might have those games where you have a defensive game 21-20. So you you're adding years onto his career when you get those bookend defensive ends and you kind of get those people that's kind of those rookies that are kind of on those deals that kind of went sour wherever they're coming from. You just adding a couple more years onto his career. So I feel like that's kind of what that move does. It gives him a couple extra years to just be able to kind of like relax and not have to exhaust so much energy on that offensive end, even though we know he's a great offensive player. He's won the MVPs. He's broke the passing records. He's threw for 50 touchdowns. So we know what he can do on the offensive end, but for him to not have to exhaust all of that energy, save it to a time where we might be money more cap restricted. Save it for a time where we can't really afford to go out and get the bookend defensive ends, and we're sitting there in the draft with two more, with only 3 or 4 or 5 picks. So it's time to use it, and it's time to really save it and try and harbor it. And I think Veach knows what he's doing when he's getting these players on defense and how he's adding players.
I think so too, and he knows what he wants. He know what he wants, and that's the guy who's going to continue to know what he wants. He's going to be successful in Kansas City for always being aggressive and trying to make some type of deal. He's never going to back down on something that okay, it might seem out of touch for the Kansas City to try to grabs or get right, but at the same time, let's see what they're talking about. Are you willing to come here? Are you willing to do that? And Danielle Hunter being a guy who's, if they're talking about trading him, that means he's on a contract. Whatever his contract details are, and if it matches to what we're willing to give up for top tier defense end like that, I think they will do it, because the extension to Chris Jones is going to clear up that cap space, right? You have enough money to restructure whatever he gets when he come over here. If he does get like a slight extension with that as well too, to where it could lower the cap hit for him for that year as well, and then we have money to play with, right? So maybe if you do that, you can still probably bring something on the offensive end if you're able to finesse and get that going. Because at least we're not in the negative in the cap space, right? We're at least 2 million over. So Chris Jones contract extension probably can give us about eight more million, probably be back in the tens or whatever, right? And then try to sign another guy. Who knows? But as of now, it's just options that we're putting out there, and I think that's something that they would like to do. It feels like defensive end was a need that they know that they were going after, right? Because that's why you went out to go get a guy like Felix from Kansas State in the first round. That's why you went ahead and spent that pick on him, opposed to like, okay, that was the next best available on your board. Let's go ahead and get out the way, right? So if they see someone like that, and I feel like they still need to add that type of player to the defense, I think they'll do it. You still got guys out there like Justin Houston, but that ship has sailed. It's over with. We let that go once Patrick Mahomes started his next year after that. And then that year after that we won a Super Bowl. And then we won another Super Bowl 2 more years after that. So we don't need him, right? We're trying to get younger and get better. And I think that's what the goal is. And I think that's what they're going to keep on pursuing. So, Hunter, he's in the age range where I feel like they'll mess with, they're okay with. He's not old. If he was 30 plus years old, then that's a different conversation. We're going with Chase Young all the way. But with him being at that age at this moment, and I believe his birthday more than likely already has passed. Yeah, his birthday already passed. His birthday already passed. So I mean, why not? Why
Makes
not?
sense. Makes
Might as well
sense.
go for it. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep on keeping an update on that. We know a lot of things been happening week by week. It's a slow part of the off season. People are getting dropped. People are getting put up for a possibility of trades, and we'll let you know if the Chiefs are interested, and we'll give our take on that as well too. But that's all we have for this episode of Chiefin with Daily Dale. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms at KC Sports Company, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And then make sure to follow my personal pages, Dale Fowler Jr. on Facebook, Twitter, Dale E. Fowler, Instagram, Daily_Dale39. Lonnie, what about you?
And so follow me on Twitter _LONNO Mono, and then follow me on Instagram at L_LONO. Like I said, we still getting everything still set up, y'all. I'm moving little by little. We like I said, we was planning to talk about for you, Clark. They threw a monkey wrench in there, so I'm still getting everything together, still getting the house together for the baby.
We
So
actually had some special content for
yeah,
y'all too,
we did,
but
but
we're gonna put that back because we'll never know. We'll
in the
see if
foul
it
cabinet,
comes.
foul
The
it
foul
in,
cabinet,
foul it in. We
foul
just
cabinet,
foul
man.
cabinet.
So,
Yep.
yep. But that's all we have. We'll connect with y'all and talk to y'all on our next episode. Talk to you soon.